Okay, this is number 165. It is the painted elk hide, and it's the piece on the top left. It is attributed to Kotsiogo, which is from the Eastern Shoshone tribe on the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming, and it dates from 1890 to 1900, and it is painted elk hide. One had recently sold at Christie's auction for almost $150,000. So we are seeing more attention going to these Native American arts. For the Eastern Shoshone, painting had been a long-standing tradition among the American Indians of the Great Plains. The remains of painted images or pictographs from centuries ago appear on ledges and walls of cliffs throughout the region. At the same time that these artists were painting images on rock, they were undoubtedly also painting on animal hides. However, the earliest surviving hide painting dates to about 1805. Both men and women painted on hides, but generally women painted the geometric designs on rawhide containers called parfleches and on robes, while men painted pictorial scenes on clothing, shields, and teepee covers and liners. The primary means of passing on history and tradition among American Indians was through an oral tradition. However, in lieu of a written language, pictorial paintings was another form of record keeping. For the Great Plains people, the Native Americans had developed material cultures largely centered around hunting of bison, which there's a picture in the PowerPoint, and also known as the buffalo, and the skillful exploitation of these animal resources. The Native Americans would use all parts of the buffalo as it was considered a way of honoring the sacred animal. Living on a vast prairie that supported huge herds of buffalo, elk, and deer, these people paid homage to the Creator and the natural world that sustained their lives. But beginning in 1850 and accelerating after the Civil War, white migrants, railroad employees, hunters, and Wild West men shot and killed hundreds of thousands of bison, thus effectively exterminating the buffalo from the economy of the Plains people. Herds previously numbering 15 million had been reduced to a mere 1,000 by 1875. By Kadzi Cody's time, the painter of this piece, many of the Shoshone people were confined to the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming and to other reservations in the West. Their traditional way of life was behind them. The Sundance had been outlawed by the U.S. government, which viewed it as a threat to order. The men no longer had the freedom to live as nomadic hunters on the prairie, and the bison were nearly extinct. Therefore, the only heroic deeds or exploits they were able to do was to paint those they remembered from life before reservations. And then on this elk hide, it's not a traditional bison because the population had declined so much due to the historical events. And then when they use blue and green pigments, those were purchased from Western sources. And it was totally intended for a Western audience. This was sold to tourists who had come to the reservations to view what it's like among the Native Americans. A few artists such as Kadzi Cody were resourceful and adapted to the traditional art of hide painting to appeal to the taste of Euro-American buyers. The pictorial paintings of the plainsmen were in demand by non-Indian visitors to the reservation, and by producing items for the market, Kadzi Cody was able to earn much-needed income and thereby survive difficult times. So it combines history with contemporary culture. In the center of the hide is an eagle, a bison hide, and traditional dances. The Sundance is represented by the buffalo head hung between a forked tree surmounted by an eagle, and the grass dance is represented by men wearing war bonnets. The Sundance was intended to honor the creator deity for Earth's bounty, and to ensure the continuation and a long life. The United States government had outlawed the sun dance until 1935 in an effort to compel the Native Americans to abandon their traditional ways and to blend in with the societies around them. Kotsiogo likely included references to the sun dance because he knew tourist consumers would find the scene attractive, but he modified the scene, combining it with the acceptable grass dance, perhaps to avoid any potential ramifications he may face. Men dressed in feather bustles and headdresses, not to be confused with the feathered war bonnets. They danced around the poles, which represent the grass dance. With their arms akimbo and their bodies bent, Kotsiogo shows these men in motion. Men participating in a sacred social ceremony refrain from eating or drinking. So framing these two ceremonies is the illusion of a buffalo hunt. The artist Kadzi Cody depicts the chase, the kill, and the butcher of the animals, combining historical and contemporary narratives. Buffalo had been eradicated from this region by the 1880s, and the Shoshone people depicted here with bows and arrows had been using modern rifles for quite some time. The background had minimal decoration for visual clarity. There was simplified and contour-driven style, but still an attention to detail like hooves of the animal. A lot of rhythm and repetition is used. And again, this was not made for the people of the region. It was made particularly for visitors on the reservation to have a souvenir. So it's a way of the Native Americans producing art that they could sell, which they could then use to better themselves. All right, so that is the painted elk hide. Next will be the black on black ceramic vessel.